close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. See the horizon turn us to thousands, and we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon turn us to thousands. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on.
When in doubt, we go to plan B.
There you go.
We go to plan B. Let's try this again. Good Lord. Yeah, I don't know what happened to the mixer there. Hey, when technical difficulties happen, you just roll with it and go.
That's right.
So once again, folks, let's start from the top. Welcome to Undefined Roundtable. I'm your host, Chad Martin, with Luke Shepard, who is, I reached out to Luke, and we just went through this whole spiel, so it's not going to sound as beautiful as it did the first time. It's just what it is. And Luke and I have never met before. I knew I wanted to have a cool guest on this first episode of this, and I reached out to several people. Luke, actually, somebody brought you to my attention, said, hey, there's a big runoff for the sheriff's department here in Tate County, and there's a lot of issues with law enforcement right here, a lot of hot topics with law enforcement here in Tate County. So we wanted to talk about that. I knew it'd be a great way to break the ice and do it. If you're watching out there, if you want to be a part of the conversation, go ahead in the chat. We'll try to get you and try to get your questions answered. We are going through some questions here. If you want to share this stream, you're more than welcome to do so. I know we were going to do this a little bit with in the midst of Our Lands, Our Rights, and there's a few other people who wanted to share it, and I think there's some miscommunication there, but we got it here. We're welcoming people who want to talk about it. Be sure you like, share it, get the word out, and we're going to have a conversation. That's really what we do, get people who don't know you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's educate the folks on who you are. So how long have you lived in Tate County?
We've lived in Tate County for about 16 and a half, a little over 16 and a half years now.
So it is home for you.
It's home. Yeah. We're not going anywhere.
Yeah, there you go. I think I told you before the volume didn't work. I grew up in Texas and I moved here and swore I'm always a Texan, except for now I'm really a Tate County, Mississippi resident,
right?
And have been for a long time now. It's funny how we call a place home when we get used to it.
Yeah.
And it goes up. So what does it mean to you really to be the sheriff of a county like this? You know, these smaller counties, you have these large counties, but what's it like? And what's the passion for doing that?
So I guess for me, what it would mean and what the passion is to be able to be in a position where I can protect my family and I can be able to protect the county and the people. And I've always liked the idea of service, public service, and being involved with public service. And to me, some of the better things in life are being able to help other people and to be there for them when they need something. So I guess to me, being able to be the sheriff and affect change and to help people and kind of be the front runner and make sure that we can help people in the best way possible.
And these small town communities there's something special. I've always said I will not live in a large city. Mm-hmm. I love because it's so different when you're in a large city.
It is.
But in small towns, it doesn't really seem to matter what your background is, whether it's racial, whatever it is. People just seem to be more communal.
Yeah.
And together in a small town.
Absolutely.
How does that make you feel when you're trying to get into a job like this, and what kind of pressure does that put on you?
Well, it really doesn't, honestly. I don't see it as so much as pressure as I do that I really like the thought of having being able to work in my home county where I live, because it's a lot more personal, and I'm a personable person, so to speak, but I enjoy the fact of being able to know everybody and working with people and having that small town feel to where pretty much everybody. And, that's a big plus. Like you said, in a big city, in a work environment, even in bigger cities in DeSoto County where I've worked, it doesn't have that small town feel, and it's unfortunate, but it's just, I guess, the nature of the job. You can't know everybody in the city with 50, 60, 70,000 people in it.
Oh yeah.
But you still, even there, I enjoyed getting to know whatever, when I was on patrol, I enjoyed getting to know the business owners and the people in the community within my small district that I worked. So I like the idea of being able to do it here at home so that it can be, I guess, as good as it can be. I don't know. I don't know the best way to say it.
But and I think that's true to a lot of extent, because, around here, they always say in small towns that everybody knows everybody.
Right.
And to some extent that may be true.
Right.
But you really do, as law enforcement, it's even more important, it seems like. Mm-hmm. Just because, it's important, it can also be a detriment. Like in big cities, you don't have to, it's not really pushed that you need to be personable,
Right.
right, with your citizens. And in smaller towns and smaller counties like ours, it's almost imperative.
It matters. It matters.
Right.
It really matters. Yeah.
So how do you, so when you're going out in the public and you're making your patrols, and I could not imagine being a police officer. I'll just say that right off the bat. That's not a job I want.
Right.
So to me, it takes a special person to get into law enforcement to begin with, because of what you have to deal with on a daily basis. Attitudes, you're already under the gun because of that, just because people don't like getting stopped, and there's already that anxiety. So how do you balance that out with trying to make a place better, and yet you still have a job to do? How do you get your officers in that mindset to do what's best for the people and the citizens of a county?
So for me, what I've experienced and what I've learned and what I've found works best for us in the past is we kind of approached it in the mindset of how do I convince and how do I motivate my guys and girls to go the extra mile in the job? Like when you can stop at point A, how do I motivate you to go on to point B?
Yeah.
When you can do just the bare minimum, but the best option or the best solution is to go and do a little more. So really, you can't do that through paying them money. You can't do that through a lot of things, but we kind of found the opposite of that question to be the best solution was, how to absolutely kill morale is through micromanagement.
Sure.
Through unclear directives, through them not knowing that they have a solid place in their work environment. So there's, like you said, in law enforcement today, there are a lot of variables and a lot of things that are difficult for a law enforcement officer or for a deputy. And so because of that, the thing that they don't need is they don't need to be worried about internal pressure from within the department. They need to know that as long as I'm following the law, I'm legally, morally, and ethically right in my job, and it's the proper thing to do, then the administration has their back. And so I try to encourage our people that, hey, I've got your back. Don't do stupid stuff.
That's
a lot
right.
of times there are things that you can do legally, but it comes down to the question of should you do it?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So just something as minor as like a little, let's just say some minor traffic infraction that someone does. An officer has discretion to pull them over, write them a ticket, whatever. But the question becomes, is it really that big a deal? I mean, have you, there comes a time when obviously driving goes off the rails and people start acting like idiots.
Oh yeah.
And that needs
Yeah.
to be addressed, right?
Yes.
But just because someone is on their way to work and they slow roll a stop sign, that doesn't, in my opinion, that doesn't necessarily merit, a traffic ticket or something. There's a lot bigger crimes, I guess, that we should focus on than things like that, especially in the small town atmosphere.
Oh, sure. And that really, and I guess we're going to start off hot here today then. The big hot topic button issue of today has been the episode that happened, I guess, in the last couple of days with the 10-year-old here.
Mm-hmm.
We've all seen the picture. I think a lot of people, at least in our area, have seen the picture. It was even made the news in Memphis of the 10-year-old being put in the back of a police car for urinating on the ground, right?
Right.
And that's been a big thing. And I know Chandler's come out and addressed the issue, which I thought was a great way to do it, what you have to do as a leader. But what do you think about that? I mean, because I know what the optics are, and you know how morally outraged people get quick without all the facts and all the details. They just go from 0 to 120. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm going to preface this by saying that, of course, I don't work for Saratoga Police Department. I wasn't there. I didn't see what went on before, during, or after the incident. I only know what I saw on the news and on the internet. To me, it was a poor decision. I think even the chief said it was a poor decision to take the child into custody.
Yes.
A 10-year-old child. and I guess my opinion is that, a lot of the optics are very important for a police department or a sheriff's department, anybody in law enforcement. So you have to gain public trust and public equity, and that's very important to an agency's success within the area that it serves. So from everything to investigations, to people turning in tips, to just a day-to-day officer on the street as he makes a traffic stop. He may never have done anything before wrong, or that I guess the internet or the social media world would deem as improper from their point of view. But if that department or that agency doesn't have that kind of public equity, and the public doesn't trust him, it's a lot more difficult for them. So I guess that's a long way around.
Well, no, it's true, and it is such a fine line to walk, and I believe they did. Did they go a step too far? I would probably say they did, and but again, I think like the chief, he addressed it, and I think when you acknowledge it helps. But there's things like that you have to face on the job. Right. And then how do you take that instance to your deputies and say, okay, look, this is a learning moment for us. How do you broach that with them?
So it's not, this job is unlike so many that it's not like laying bricks or you name it, anything else. This is you have to make split second decisions on the job.
Yeah.
Decisions that affect not only you, but your agency, that public equity, that view, that viewpoint that the public has of you. So there are a lot of things that affect that. So I guess my encouragement and what I tell our guys is make sound decisions, use critical thinking. Again, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something.
That's right.
It's very case specific, but another aspect to it is good supervision and good follow-up from people who are on the ground with the guys in the field, so that they'll be keeping up with what's going on. And if something comes up that they think is, hey, this is a poor decision, they'll call an audible and say, oh, no, we're not doing this. This is a bad idea.
Well, we've got a question here. We'll go ahead and I'll get this one. This is from Nikki Third, and this was put into Our Lands, Our Rights.
Okay. Yeah.
The question was sent to them. It has been said you have big plans for our county. One would be to change county dispatch to 911 dispatch, causing people to lose their jobs. We agree there are positions that need to be filled, like more deputies, but cutting other positions does not seem fair. Is that your plan? And if not, it's a long question. Is that your plan? And if not, what is your plan to increase the number of deputies? Let's take that part of it first.
Okay, sure.
All right, because I guess, and so how do you answer that?
So which part do you want?
Let's talk about the first one about plans to change 911 dispatch or dispatch to 911 county.
So currently, the Tate County Sheriff's Department has they have their own dispatch center.
Yes,
the Sheriff's Department, and then we also have an E911 dispatch center in Senatobia.
Gotcha.
So we can save in the area of $200,000 every year by combining the Sheriff's Department dispatch with the 911 dispatch center. So currently there are several full-time and a few part-time dispatchers that work for the Sheriff's Department. And it would be my goal to have them integrate into the 911 dispatch center so that people would not lose their job. I would also, and I'll say this to whoever asks the question, I can assure you that I will step up and I will go to the Board of Supervisors, to every department, and see if there is not a fit for them in another department, if by some chance they cannot stay as a dispatcher. I would think, and I feel like, surely to goodness, they could integrate into the dispatch center, and over time through attrition that they would be able to move, I guess, merge in directly with them.
It seems like, and I don't know how this works, but it seems like on the outside that's a smarter move, not to have two separate ones.
It is.
It have everything merged together so you don't have conflicting calls going out.
Well, it becomes a matter of if you live in the unincorporated parts of Tate County, you have an emergency, somebody's kicking in your door at 2 a.m. and you dial 911, it's not ringing at the sheriff's department because it rings to the 911 dispatch center.
Gotcha.
So the call then has to be transferred and put over on them. And so there's a delay of time, there's a delay of efficiency. And again, like I said, it's the money. And, not everything is about dollars and cents. It's
That's
also
right.
about the people, but we have to be responsible, I feel like, with the taxpayers' money.
Yes.
So we have bigger issues and bigger fish to fry, so to speak, with the shortage of deputies and things like that we have in our county.
Absolutely. All right. Let me see where we're at here. Oh, okay. I'll get to that in a minute. Speaking of the deputies and increasing them, if you do increase the number of deputies, are you planning to bring them in from DeSoto County? Do you plan to eliminate the ones that voted with your opponent, or will feelings be neutral and put to the side? And I say that because there's this whole thing about don't DeSoto my Tate, which if you don't say that properly, sounds pretty bad. So how do you address that?
Well, let me start off by saying I have no plans to fire all the deputies and all the jailers and bring in all these DeSoto County people that work up there now to come down here to work and fill the jail and fill the positions in the sheriff's department. That's crazy. My goal is to work with all the ones that are here now. And I don't have plans to go through and do a mass firing and get rid of people. That would be crazy on my part if I did that. So no, absolutely not. There's no plans to bring in a bunch of people from DeSoto County.
And isn't that the first thing people go to, right? The scare tactics, the whole DEFCON 1.
Oh, yeah.
Like the new guys coming in, so just going to lay waste to everything and everybody and bring in.
I'm going to fire everybody. That's what's been said, that I'm going to fire everybody. And it's absolutely not. Look, in Tate County here at our sheriff's department, we have some great men and women that work at the sheriff's department and at the jail. People I've been friends with for a long time, and I really appreciate them and the work that they do. It would be crazy to think that I would try to bring it.
Yeah.
And so publicly here, so everybody knows, I have no plans to fire everybody. Or the other one is that I'm going to bring in Chief Chandler as my chief deputy, and that he's going to be my chief deputy with me. That's not true. I have no plans to bring in, or bring in Chandler or the deputy chief before. Was there another part to that?
Ooh, no, that was it.
Okay.
Yeah. That was it, because it was the and that's what I said. So that was basically it.
Okay.
Another one here. Let's see. Speaking of community, what plans, if any, do you have to involve the community in your administration?
So, a couple things. First of all, and this is not a big cost item that costs the taxpayers or the department a lot of money, but I would like to have a citizens academy for people that live in the county, or in the municipalities within the county. And we do it currently at DeSoto County, and it's a fantastic idea. So what it is basically it's a 10-week program. They meet every one night a week. I think it's on Tuesday nights, and they'll meet from like 7 to 8 or 8:30 when this academy is going on. Then this is not a push-ups and running academy. This is basically an academy for the general public. They apply to get into this, and it allows them to see all the various aspects of law enforcement. It allows them to tour the jail. And basically the whole point of this is to come out on the other side of it, a more educated citizen that knows more about the goings on within the department. So we would have the district attorney's office come and be a part of it, and they would do a presentation, youth court to present to us. We show them all the department, the patrol division and how they operate, the types of calls. We show them the dispatch center, the jail. So the goal is so that they come out on the other side of it, and they basically can say, hey, I've seen the jail. I've seen the department. I understand how the legal process works. And it really works in a very good way, because then they're on board. It's not a mystery. It's not some spooky thing that's just in theory.
Sure.
I've been there. I know how this works. So a Citizens Academy is one. Another thing that I would love to do is in the summer have a junior deputy academy. And it would involve kids from schools around the county, and they would come in for a week long junior deputy academy, excuse me. And we would, it's basically a similar version of the Citizens Academy, but on a kid scale. And it starts to build that trust and that initial image that they have in their mind of law enforcement, so that they start from an early age seeing, hey, this law enforcement officer is for me, not against me. It's if I have a problem, I know I can run to them. I shouldn't be afraid of them and run away from them.
That's correct.
So again, it builds into that public equity and getting to know the kids, and it's a really amazing thing how well it works. And
that's how community building is, right? And
yeah,
we call ourselves
absolutely.
a community, and should we not be that thing? We want to. We say that we are.
Mhm.
So I do love that approach. Let's see. How are you going to save budget and cut waste? I mean, that can be a long-term question there, but you know what I mean?
So financially within the budget, with the dispatch center, like I said, that's a savings of about $200,000 every year. Another way is through the use of grant money. And currently we don't get any grant money in Tate County here. Where I currently work in DeSoto County, we apply for and receive a lot of grants. So there's a lot of free federal and state money available to us through Department of Homeland Security and various other organizations that provide resources and could provide resources to us here in Tate County at no cost to the taxpayer. So we don't have to raise taxes to accomplish things and gain manpower. There's things like the COPS grant, which is a community-oriented policing grant that provides officers, a DUI grant that provides through the state that provides DUI officers, pays for them and their salaries and their vehicles. The MCOPS grant, which provides money for school resource officers. So various things that we can do. There's also grant money available for search and rescue divisions. So like our search and rescue division that covers out toward Arcabutla, I would love to be able to work with those guys and girls and see if we can more efficiently and work together. So part of being in a small rural area is that there's not 400 deputies. So we've got to all work together.
Yes.
Us, the volunteer fire department, search and rescue, we got a tremendous base of people in the county that pay for their own gas and get in their own vehicles at 2:00 in the morning to go answer calls out in the rural parts of our county where I live. And man, I'm so grateful that they do that. It's very humbling to me that they get out and do it. And so I'd like to do some training and basically if we can do anything to help them and so we can work better together, do that, which I think would also in turn be a budget saving.
I'm going to ask you a couple of questions here that I was thinking about the other day, and just will shoot these out to you. Because I heard this, I don't know how true it is. But again, there's lots of rumors and stuff floating around out there. One of the rumors is that Senatobia City will be doing patrols out in the county. Is that true? Is that something you've heard? I mean, that seems far-fetched to me because it seems like they have enough to do here in town.
Yeah, so I'm sure everybody, you've heard of, jurisdictional boundaries.
Sure.
An officer with the city of Senatobia has jurisdiction within the municipal bounds of the city of Senatobia. So I have no plans to deputize all the police officers and say, hey, you guys just go patrol in the county, do your thing. I don't think the citizens of Senatobia would appreciate their tax dollars being spent on a patrol officer that's not even protecting them in the city. So, no.
I heard, so I was at the gym working out today, and again, talk is everywhere. Talk is everywhere.
Sure.
So I heard, well, I think they just want to bring in loot so they can hire more deputies, write a lot of tickets.
We have enough real crime in Tate County and in our area that traffic tickets and traffic violations in general, I'll say this, I don't see as the biggest issue that we're facing.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to say that there are not problem hotspots across the county and people that drive like idiots.
Sure.
That's everywhere you go. And those people, some of those people may need a ticket, honestly. But no, I tell our guys, hey, use your time. You can either be writing tickets or you can be catching what I would call a real criminal.
That's right.
Somebody that's, a dope dealer or various other
serious
things
we have going on.
Yeah. So don't you're better officer than that to I guess just minimize yourself to writing a bunch of stupid traffic tickets.
All right, here's some more coming. Good grief! All right, I'm trying to keep up, folks.
Okay.
Let's see if I can here. In your opinion, how much can actually change if the judicial system continues to release reoffenders without consequences?
Mm. Well,
and I know that's a tough thing because we're talking about
that's a big topic.
the law as
Yeah.
far as judges and then lawyers involved in it and all that stuff. It's
Right.
kind of out of y'all's hands after you catch an offender.
Right.
But how does that affect you guys? How do you approach that? Because that's got to be tough. Seeing somebody that you thought was going to be put away is right now back out on the street again.
So when I was on the task force in the FBI with the FBI up in Memphis for several years, I created some longtime friendships with some officers that are up there. In between Memphis Police Department and Shelby County Sheriff's Department, they have a tremendous problem with morale because it becomes an issue of just like, I don't know who asked the question, they lock them up before they can even get the paperwork done. They're released out the back door of the jail, and the officer or the deputy's kind of like, why am I even doing this?
Sure.
Why am I putting my life on the line to catch the criminal? And not only risk physical harm, but risk taking a misstep and maybe facing civil consequences if they're just going to let them out the back door. And I'll just be completely honest with you, I don't have a good answer for that. It is very important that the judicial system and the criminal justice system, and I'm not saying that it doesn't need some types of reform.
Sure.
I agree completely with that. But I don't think currently we have a good answer. Thankfully, here in Mississippi, I don't think we face as many of the issues as they do in Shelby County.
Yeah. Yeah. These bigger cities are really flooded with a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
But it is telling, though, I think, when we see your different branches of government and law separated from each other instead of together, instead of battling against each other, work together to make sure these issues are taken care of. And I know that's something that all of y'all face when you're in those positions, but I don't know what the answer is either. I don't think anybody can. It's an easy question to ask.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But it's certainly not one to answer. I don't. And by all means, anybody who thinks you've got the solution to it, pitch it, because I would like to know.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I just don't know how you go about doing that, because when you've got egos involved, it's really kind of a tough thing to do.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Let's see. Do you think you can entice more deputies there with a pay raise as far as staying or coming down, or maybe even doing a better job? Do you think everybody wants to make more money? Sure. There's a lot of people who work here and go outside the county to work because you can't make enough money here. I mean, this is not a rich county. I don't care what anybody says. It's just not.
Sure.
But as far as deputies go, they have to work here. The people who work here want to be paid more, but how do you do that within your budget and then entice people that the job is worth doing?
So I think that a part of that is in my opinion, in order to not raise taxes through the roof, because I live here, I pay taxes too. I don't want to pay taxes just like anybody else.
That's right.
We have to, but I think in order to maximize what we can pay our law enforcement and our jailers here in Tate County, who in my opinion are grossly underpaid, I think we have to trim every bit of fat out of the budget that we can.
Oh, yeah.
And take those dollars that we're spending on things that are not really necessary or that can be put to use elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Take those dollars and pay the people more. I would rather take $1 and pay a person than to have some frivolous thing that's not even been used in,
Oh, yeah.
So it's a matter of going through, like I said before, going through the budget line by line and seeing, hey, is this software or this service that we're using? Do we really need this? Is this something that we currently use? Is this very important to us? Is this something we got to keep? And it may be, everything that's on there could be, maybe, it has to be kept, but in my experience, that's not the case. So I would want to trim the fat and to see where we're at if we utilized our budget to the best of the ability that we could, and see where we're at with that, and give deputies that way.
Now, there's no question these are tough decisions you're gonna have to make. If you get this job and you go in there, there's no question that there are tough decisions. That's something everybody has to face. How do you tackle the tough decisions?
For me, my opinion is that you have to look at it objectively. You have to. It's not what's best for Luke or what's best for this individual or that individual. It's what's best for the most people. So for the citizens of the county that do or don't have a voice on the internet or in a position of authority or power, what do we have to do so that they are just as safe as everybody else? So I guess to try to stay objective and to not get tunnel vision into, I guess, this person or that person's campaign and what kind of issues or agendas they're pushing is to remain open-minded to everybody.
Exactly. Stuff like that matters so much. And you're not going to please everybody. Mm-hmm. People have already made up their minds in some form or way or the other. No matter what you say, it's there, right? It never sinks in. So in the face of detractors, and we all have them, God knows, how do you press on and do the job that has to be done?
Well, for me, I think that you have to do it out of a sense of duty, and it can't be, I'm not doing this because this is some big pay raise, or I make right now what I would make as the sheriff here, except my insurance for my family is going to be a lot more expensive here than it is where I'm at now.
Sure.
You have to do it out of a sense of duty. And I think that's what the men and women that work at the sheriff's department, at the jail, that's why they work here. They could go north to to DeSoto County, and as long as you've got at least 4 years of experience, get anywhere from a $10 to a $12 an hour pay raise. Right?
Good grief.
And you can drive your patrol car right back home to Tate County here. And so I appreciate the men and women that do that, but you do that out of a sense of duty. And so for me, I guess drowning out the noise and the detractors, like you said, that's a sense of, you have to keep telling yourself, hey, this is why I'm doing this. This is why, so.
All right, let's see if we got anything else here. Just so I haven't missed anything. I think we've handled that issue. We've talked about all of that. What else do we have here? Let's see. And this kind of feeds into that, but I'll let you just go ahead and just patch on to the back of it. But do you plan to utilize the county's current IT department or continue to outsource it to out-of-county contractors at a higher cost? I think we just talked about budget a little bit and kind of broached that subject. But
I think what whoever asked that question is referring to is that the sheriff's department is outsourcing their IT work. We have a guy named Jacob Red that works in the county. He works for the county IT personnel. And so that's another perfect example of what I'm talking about. In my opinion, utilize the people who we currently have to save cost. So if we've got a guy that already works for the county that can do the IT work, hey, let's utilize him. Let's don't outsource it to another individual. And it costs more. So,
well, and makes sense. I mean, it makes tons of sense. Another question just came in. I'm trying to keep up with them all. What about the ratio of jobs that were created inside the sheriff's office instead of putting more deputies outside the sheriff's office?
Ratio of jobs that were created inside.
So more that were created inside instead of using those deputies outside patrolling.
Oh, I see.
In areas, you know what I mean?
Right.
How do you feel about that? How do you tackle that? Because once again, now there's people who have jobs on the inside, and if we need more people out in the county, which seems to be the thing I hear the most about, I know that's one of the biggest things that people talk about, especially all my friends who live out in the county.
Sure.
the having 45-minute response time is not acceptable to anything when gunshots are fired. So how do you approach that, man? Because that's gonna be tough.
Yeah. So the backbone of any division or of any department or agency or organization, the absolute backbone, everybody will tell you this, is the patrol division. It's the person that's in a uniform, in a patrol car, answering calls, making stops, looking for the bad guy in your neighborhood to protect you. So the most important thing, if you can't staff other divisions because you have to have people on patrol, that is the primary concern, is that you have guys and women on the streets answering those calls in the car.
Yeah.
So that has to be filled, in my opinion, before anything else.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I think there's a lot of people who would agree with that statement.
Mm-hmm.
What are your, this kind of takes me back a little bit because I didn't know this. I don't know how true this is, but maybe you can tell me.
Okay.
What are your plans to lower the 1,500 outstanding warrants? Do we have 1,500 outstanding warrants out there? Is that many at any given time?
I think we do.
Holy crap.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
So for the warrants and the large number that we have relative to our population in the county, I think a key to that is that we have to have a streamlined process where the warrants are housed and can be, as you say, confirmed. So if, let's just say, a deputy is out at a location with a person, they show to have a warrant, we have to have the warrants in a location where the dispatcher can confirm, yes, we do
Gotcha.
have what's called a hard copy. It's not just an item in the system that's not been cleared because they already been arrested on that warrant. We actually
Yeah.
have a hard copy of their warrant in hand. So we have to have those, and that's not currently what we have now. The hard copies of the warrants are housed in another location, so that if deputy gets out with somebody, even though they could show that they have a warrant, there's no way to confirm that the warrants are in hand, so that individual is not arrested. So that's one of many issues I think that contribute to the ever-growing number of warrants that we have on people. So that fix that issue, I guess, would be
Sure.
number one. Number two would be have them work hand in hand with the constables. And if people have warrants, it's because they haven't followed through on something that they should have done. So it's not a matter of, hey, you're a good person, I'll let you go. If a judge has signed a warrant on that person, I mean, you got to go to jail.
That's right.
You got a bond on it, whatever. So,
Sure.
So having those warrants to clear our system is very important.
That's
Yeah.
That seems like a huge amount. My average time for a response is 10 minutes to answer calls. Not saying there isn't times it takes longer, but for the average, it's 10 minutes for me. We conduct special training for autistic children, people, and veterans. So I have seen this issue pop up, especially the more prevalent, I think, autism is out there, and you deal with autistic people, and sometimes autism is not really apparent when you look at somebody. Like back in the day, especially, it seems like you could look at somebody and say, "Oh, they must be autistic," but that's really not the case anymore.
Right.
How do you train for that?
So we currently have special training that we do. It's an autism awareness training, because people with autism, and I'm definitely not an expert on autism, so I'm going to go ahead and put that disclaimer out there. But autistic individuals typically have issues, the way I understand it, have issues sometimes with understanding what you're saying. And so we have special training that trains officers what to do, what to look for, ways to interact with people that are autistic, because a lot of times it can be misconstrued as non-compliance.
Sure.
Like they're telling them to do whatever, and the person's autistic, so they're not getting what you're
they're
saying.
not comprehending at all.
Yeah. So that autism training and autism awareness is very important. I mean, from children all the way to adults that have autism, it's very important for officers to train, because as much as easy it is, I guess I should say, for people to say, well, you ought to have known that, you should have known that, whatever. in the event or in the moment, it's very important to have training such as that. Another thing that we also train on that's very, very critical is what we call CIT, crisis intervention training. It's people that are experiencing periods of crisis in their life, and maybe they react or act out way differently than they would in normal life.
Sure.
And how do you de-escalate them and bring the situation down as opposed to ramping it up? So a lot of the different behavioral trainings and things like that are very important.
And do they budget that inside of the sheriff's department and the police departments? I'm sure some do. Is that something that is often done where they can? Because I know they have all these classes that they send for the training. Is that something that you do, or send officers to a lot? Or
yeah, we definitely do. We have so one of our school resource officers, he actually helps teach it, and he's a good friend of mine. He has an autistic child, and so he helps teach the autism awareness program. A lot of our negotiators, hostage negotiators, crisis negotiators, we send them through all the trainings that we can get them on as well. We try to also send all our patrolmen through the CIT training, and the autism awareness really as well. So yeah, we either host the training or we join up with other agencies and as a conglomerate kind of do training together. So
gotcha. So speaking of the school resource officers, are we another rumor I've heard is if he gets in, he's planning on taking out all these school resource officers. Where does that even come from? Because that's such a it's not even really a hot button topic anymore. It's almost understood that there should be.
Absolutely.
Right? Is that not true?
Absolutely. We should have a school resource officer in every school. Not to be cliche, because I really mean this. Our kids are worth protecting.
Yes,
they're our future. All the things that you can say, and I'm not going to go down that road and whatever, but they're worth protecting at all costs. So, no, absolutely, I would never. That'd be a horrible idea.
I saw it earlier, and I didn't mean to skip over it. It just occurred to me when I heard you talking about it a second ago. But that was a question that was asked. I was like, okay, that's kind of wild. That would be a thing. Here's another one. Could an amnesty day and payments be put in place like other jurisdictions, which seem to work for nonviolent misdemeanors?
Yeah, I think that would be that could definitely work. I've known other agencies that have done that. It would be done, of course, with the court and with the judges, and it would have to be something that everybody would come together and agree on it. And, we would make sure we following legal protocols. But yeah, I think that's an interesting
thing. I've never heard of that before. So that's actually pretty cool. Let's see. We just answered the school resource officers thing. Talking about Summers, also nonverbal, talking about autistic children again. Will you be asking him to visit our SORs and train here? I guess talking about the SROs. So, yeah. But, man, though, this hour's already flown by. Good grief.
Oh, wow.
It's getting there. One thing I haven't asked you about that I think is very, very important. Dude, what do you like to do outside of law enforcement? What do you do outside of work? Because you got to make your wife happy. You got to make your family happy.
That's right. Yeah.
You can't just be gone all the time doing these things. What do you like to do, man?
I really, some of the things I enjoy that I haven't, especially here of late, is being with my family. I've got kids that play sports, and we really enjoy that. We're active in our church. We really, really enjoy our church family, and it's a very important part of our life. For me personally, I really enjoy the outdoors. I love hunting and fishing.
Oh yeah,
being outside, and I really enjoy I guess that's it. I mean, just being outdoors,
Yeah.
being kind of disconnecting, being away from it all. But it seems, like you said, it seems kind of lately like it's just
It's tough, isn't
it's
it?
all
It's
work.
tough to find that thing. So I'll ask you this. I don't mean to put you on your toes here. I said I wasn't going to do this, but
no, you're good. Ask me.
this side of my personality can't help it.
No, come
All
on.
right.
You're not gonna hurt
So I
me.
don't mean to put you on the spot. What would your wife say is your most endearing quality?
Oh goodness.
Because there is a follow up to this.
I really don't know.
She's like, do I have any endearing qualities, son?
Quality. I typically try to put all of me into something when I'm doing it.
Sure.
And sometimes that's good, sometimes it's bad. But I've told her before, it's really all about the job and the duties of whatever the job is at the time.
Yeah.
Very important. But the most important thing outside of that is my wife and kids, and behind God, of course. But so I guess I try to always make sure that they're taken care of and make sure that they're, safe, provided for, all those things.
Mm-hmm. So that leads me.
That's a good answer.
I think it's a good answer.
Okay.
Because it leads me to this question. And it's not just a question, it's a statement of fact. Because being a law enforcement officer, being a Leo is tough. It is one of the most difficult jobs you're going to do because of the sacrifice you have to make.
Mm-hmm.
On the back side of that is the sacrifice that your family has to make. Your wife, your kids, parents, brothers, sisters, the whole family. They have a sacrifice and an investment in what you guys as law enforcement officers do too. How much does that mean to you? And not only that, how do you look at them and reinforce the notion that what I'm doing for the community, some that don't care how bad of a day you've had or how dangerous it is, how do you reinforce to them that what you're doing is worth it?
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, and I think for most everyone that's in law enforcement, the reason you do it is because you feel a call to do it. Like it is what God has guided you to do in your life. And for me personally, I don't take that lightly. This is not like any other job where I can just flippantly go do something else. I feel like God has directed me to this, and I'm a flawed individual just like everybody else.
Sure.
So I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I screw up all the time, but because I feel like it's what I'm supposed to be doing, it makes me even more so want to do it right, do it correctly.
Absolutely.
Do it so that when I come out the other side and retire, I'll have a good legacy, or people will think positively of me. And so, it is not, I guess, as far as reinforcement to wife and kids and family, they know that it's a passion and it's something I feel called to do. So I think they understand. I feel like they do.
Good. We hope so.
Yeah.
That's a tough ask.
Yeah.
For the family, and I've always been curious because it is such a tough thing that y'all do, and I don't think there's enough appreciation that goes around for law enforcement officials, especially because we know there's a few bad apples out there that always seem to spoil the entire bunch and whatever the saying is, and we see it all the time. But there's so many great law enforcement officers out there, that it makes your job doubly difficult. Having to go into those kind of situations.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of talked about the amnesty deal. Like Sharon asked, any plans to open more opportunities for people to work fines off by actually working for the county?
I think that's a great idea.
I think it's an excellent idea too. I mean, because some people are poor. That poverty is a thing, and some people aren't blessed to have a lot of money or just not in a position to do it, and have to figure out how to make some of these fines go away that can snowball on you. I love that idea.
That's a great idea.
How do you plan to improve relationships with other first responders in the county?
So, again, going back to the small rural nature of Tate County,
Yeah,
and how we're not DeSoto County. I love it here. I mean, I choose to live here and raise my family and pay taxes and be a member of this community because I love it here.
Yes.
I'm not going anywhere. But because we're small and we're rural and we don't have the tax base and we don't have the budget of other places, we have to really think about ways that we can all come together and we can work together. And it's not a matter of, should we have to work together with, as I said earlier, with Senatobia Police Department,
Yeah.
with Coldwater, Northwest Campus Police, the volunteer fire departments, the search and rescue, everybody that does these jobs for all the agencies, hopefully is doing it for the right reason and wants to serve our county and our people. So my goal would be that we would all train together, that we would get along, and that I would be a good leader and promote unity and promote leadership, development, and the need for us to come together. What that looks like going forward, I don't know, but I want to start immediately reaching out to those agencies, figuring out what the issues are, if there are issues, and figuring out solutions to issues if there are issues.
Yeah.
So that when we need to come together, we can come together seamlessly. So I hope that answers your question.
It does, because, and this is the thing, because I know putting ego aside is a tough thing. Being territorial is a thing. And a lot of people feel like they can have their toes stepped on and all that. But I think the true value of a leader is being able to say, I can't do everything. I don't know everything. If we work together, everybody wins in this situation.
Right. Yeah.
Then there are no losers.
Right.
Your community wins. The people who live there win. One guy says, I know I've heard several complaints about the sheriff not being seen out in community. Will you be more accessible and seeing and assisting citizens, their concerns and complaints?
Yes. I'm not going to speak to the sheriff now. I'll
Sure.
just tell you what I will do going forward.
That's right.
For me going forward, my plan would be to absolutely, I've worked under Sheriff Rasco for a lot of years now. And one thing I admire, his phone rings. I don't know if you've ever been around him for any length of time, but his cell phone rings off the hook nonstop. And he always answers his phone, whether he knows the number or not. And if you leave a voicemail, he's going to call you back. A lot of times he's busy and simply can't take a call right now. So in my opinion, and just seeing that, I think that's the way a leader ought to be.
Yes.
How am I going to be the sheriff of a county when I can't communicate with the people, and I have to be able to know, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Poorly, I'm trying to say.
No, that's
I have to
true.
be able to communicate. People have to be able to get a hold of me and be in contact with me so they can say, hey, Luke, here's an issue. We got a problem out here with XYZ. So I'm happy to give anyone and everyone my cell phone number, and other people tell me, oh, that's not a good idea. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah. I think it certainly brings you down to the level of the people, and they don't feel a separation of power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's so important.
Well, here's
our
the thing,
leaders.
is the sheriff and any public servant works for the people.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm elected as sheriff, I'm going to work for the citizens of Tate County, and they decide my fate. If in 4 years later they say, hey, you know what, Luke did a poor job, I'm not hiring him again, that's their right. If they say, hey, Luke did good, they can hire me again. I'm not doing it to be rehired. I do it out of a sense because I want the best for my family, for your family, for our friends, and everyone that lives in the county. So it's very important that, like you were saying, the sheriff be accessible so that he can hear the needs and to be in the community.
Eric says transparency will be a good thing moving forward. There's not any currently. I know you will be. That's his comment to you. Do you have plans or ideas on how to increase the TSO budget or ways to stretch the current budget? I think we talked about that earlier a little bit, because you really have to get in there and look at the thing first, right?
Right.
See where we're at.
It's a matter of, again, applying for and getting grant money that's available. doing things to streamline and cut the fat out of the budget.
Yeah.
And the dispatch center, we can save, over $200,000 a year. The IT, utilizing current people that already work for the county that are employees of the county. So things like that.
All right, guys, we got a couple more questions we're going to get to, and then because we have been here for an hour already, taking up a lot of your time, and I do appreciate you coming in here and sitting down with me and doing this and willing to be a part of this show. I know it can be kind of a weird thing because you are running for office right now, and I just kind of ask you to take some time out of your day to do this.
Sure.
Will deputies be limited to what they're able to do with being under you, like for favorship for keeping votes later on in future elections?
For what now?
I don't know. I guess what they're saying, like,
will deputies be able to?
I don't know. Let me read that again. Okay. I might be wrong here. Will the deputies be limited to what they are able to do with being under you? So, first of all, will their hands be tied, and will they have autonomy? I'm assuming is the question here.
So I'm going to answer it like this: if the question is, can deputies do their job? And without, I think what the person, he or she, whoever it is saying, can they do their job without fear of recourse or without fear of someone coming over their head saying, no, we're not going to arrest or whatever? Yes. It's very important that the deputies have, autonomy and discretion.
Yeah. And the last one, how will you help? We kind of touched on this. How will you help with the drug problem we have in Tate County? We kind of touched on this with broadly speaking earlier, but
really, in my experience in being, working dope for almost 8 years, and about 3.5 years of that on a task force in Memphis with the FBI, doing the key, absolute critical element in fighting drugs is partnerships with surrounding agencies. Because drug dealers don't stop at the county line and go, we're at the county line, guys. I guess we got to cut it off.
Yeah, really.
It goes everywhere. So agencies have to be able to work together collectively to fight the drug problem. So that means you have to put egos aside. You have to come together for the good of our citizens and their citizens, and if they're in another jurisdiction. So my opinion is we should be working easily and seamlessly with other local, state, federal agencies to combat the drug epidemic that we have.
There you go. All right, people, we hope you enjoyed this roundtable discussion with Luke Shepard. I think the runoff is August 29th, right?
August 29th.
2 weeks from today. Is that
right.
correct? Oh, that's quick.
Yeah.
That's
Not
quick.
fast.
Good luck in that. And once again, I do appreciate you taking the time out because I know it's late on a Tuesday night already, and at least it wasn't a scorching day today.
That's right.
So that's good. But Luke, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Good luck. You're always welcome back in here. Anything you want to talk about or do? We got you, folks. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thanks for the questions. We really do appreciate it, folks. We'll talk to you guys again soon.